The Boy Who Only Saw Blue. Once upon a time, in a town between dark fir forests and a narrow strip of northern sea, there lived a boy who only saw blue. In summer, the town shimmered with color, red flowers in window boxes, yellow boats by the pier, green moss on stone steps. But for the boy, all of it had sunk into one long note of blue. Blue sky, blue sea, blue houses, blue faces. He could not remember when the other colors had disappeared. One day the red mug he always used had become a deep cold indigo. After that, colors fell away one by one until the whole world lay under a blue glass bell. The boy's name was Valo. His mother had chosen it because of the light that hit the tall pine that grew behind the hospital the day the news came that he would finally be theirs. To her it seemed ancient and steady and brave. She remembered every color from that first day. The pink hat they put on his head, the orange blanket he kicked off, the brown eyes that stared at her, measuring, not sure yet. Years later she watched him move through the kitchen like a shadow cut out of blue paper. He ate in silence. He shrugged when she asked about school. When she hugged him, his body stayed stiff, as if he didn't quite live inside it. Sometimes, when she spoke his name, he turned, as if from very far away. Valo? A delayed blink, a quiet The mother did not have a fairy tale name. She was simply the mother. Mothers in that town knew how to light fires with damp wood and how to find their children in storms by the sound of their crying. But this mother did not know how to find her boy in the blue. At first she tried with color. She painted his room yellow. She knitted socks in stripes of red and green. She bought the brightest mandarins and piled them in a bowl. "Look," she said, "isn't it beautiful?" Valo looked because she asked. "It's blue," he said, and turned away. The mother tried other things. She tightened rules, then loosened them. She read books about boys who drew swords from stones and thought, perhaps if he hears the right story, something will wake. But the boy who only saw blue seemed to be walking deeper into a forest that no one else could see. One November evening, when the sky and sea and snow-waiting clouds were all the same iron-gray blue, the mother lit every candle in the house. Outside, the wind combed through the spruces. Inside, the house was a small boat of light. Valo sat at the kitchen table, his hands resting on the blue shadow of the wood. The mother brought in a cardboard box she had not opened for years. "What's that?" he asked. "Old things," she said, "from before you came." She lifted out photographs, a pressed clover, a crooked clay figure. Each one had a story. As she talked, her voice grew softer. "This was the summer I learned to swim. I thought the lake would swallow me whole, but then—" She stopped. Something had appeared in the corner of the kitchen. At first it looked like a shimmer, the kind you see about hot asphalt in July. Then it gathered itself like breath on a winter window and took the shape of a small woman standing on the windowsill between the candles. She was the size of a teacup, with hair like silvery thistledown, and a dress made of overlapping spruce needles. Her wings were thin sheets of ice, so delicate you could see the candle flames through them. Valo stared. The mother stared. The fairy stretched, yawned, as if waking from a long nap, and looked around the kitchen with bright, amused eyes. "Well," she said, "You've let it get very blue in here." Her voice sounded like a spoon tapping the side of a glass. "You can see her too?" whispered the mother. "I'm not a her," said the fairy. "I'm a here. Where there is too much of something, I appear. This time it's blue." She hopped down from the windowsill and landed on the table with surprisingly heavy little feet. A ripple went through the wood. For a heartbeat, the table looked warm brown to Valo before the blue slid back over it. The mother found her voice. "Are you here to fix him?" she asked. "To bring back the colors?" The fairy turned her gaze on Valo. He held it, stubborn, like you hold your breath under water. "He's not broken," she said. "He is hiding." The mother's hands clenched around the box. "He's not hiding. He's right there. He just doesn't talk or look or..." The fairy's eyes gentled. "He's not hiding from you," she said quietly. "He's hiding from himself." The room grew very still. The mother wanted to argue that she had woven love into every meal, every sock, every bedtime story. Instead, she felt suddenly tired. She sat down opposite her son. "I don't understand," she said. "If he is hiding from himself, how do I reach him?" The fairy walked over to Valo's hand and laid a palm the size of a pine needle on his knuckles. To his surprise, he felt the warmth. "Symbols cannot heal a wound," she said, "that the ego is not prepared to face." The mother frowned. "Is that another way of saying my fairy tales and rituals are useless?" "Nothing woven from love is useless," the fairy replied. "But story, song, magic, these are doors. The one who is hurt must still choose to step through. You cannot drag him. You can only hold the door open and keep the house warm." Valo listened, pretending not to. The fairy turned to him. "Shall we go for a walk, blue boy?" He shrugged. "It's dark." "All the better," she grinned. "In the dark, even blue must admit it is partly black." To the mother's astonishment, Valo stood up. He pulled on his jacket and boots. The fairy flicked herself onto his shoulder like a small feather. "We'll be back," she said, "or not. Either way is a kind of magic." The mother wanted to ask 100 questions, but something in her knew this part was not hers. So she only said, "Take a scarf, it's cold," because that is what mothers say at the edge of forests and adventures. Outside, night had settled over the town. The sea was a strip of metal. Snow clouds pressed low, holding their breath. "Where are we going?" Valo asked. "To where the blue began," said the fairy. "Show me the first place you remember it swallowing the colors." He thought for a long time, breath puffing in front of him. Then he began to walk, boots crunching on thin ice. They passed the harbor and the locked school. Finally, they came to a low hill behind the town where an old pine tree grew. Valo stopped. The tree's branches were dark against the sky, heavy with snow that had not yet fallen. Looking at it made his chest ache. "Here," said the fairy, softer. "I think so," said Valo. "Sit," she said. He sat on the cold rock at the tree's roots. Everywhere blue. "What do you remember?" she asked. He closed his eyes. At first, nothing. Then pictures began to move behind his eyelids. A hospital corridor with 2 bright lights. A woman's face, not his mother. Storm dark and then gone. Strange arms lifting him. The smell of disinfectant. Voices deciding things above his head. And the pine tree. seen from a window, standing very still while everything else moved. "I didn't want to come," he whispered. "I know," said the fairy. "I didn't want new people, new rules, new smells. I wanted nothing, no colors, no feelings, just blue. It was easier." Tears stung his eyes, shocking after so many dry years. The fairy did not hush him. She only stood there, small and steady in the snow. "It was easier," she agreed, "but not kinder. Blue is beautiful. It belongs to sky and sea and shadows. It was never meant to carry everything alone." She pointed at his chest. "You made blue carry your fear, your anger, your grief. It is tired." He let out a shaky laugh. "It's just color." "Nothing is just anything," she said. "Listen." The pine needles whispered above him. He heard loneliness, waiting, roots digging deeper while lives came and went. "I know you," Valo whispered to the tree. "Of course you do," said the hush of the branches. "You stood here the day you decided never to be hurt again." He saw himself smaller, at the base of the tree, fists clenched, watching his new mother through the hospital window as she signed papers with trembling hands. He remembered looking away from her face to the safe, distant blue of the sky. "I thought if I didn't feel anything," he said, "I couldn't be taken away again. If everything was the same color, nothing would change." The fairy nodded. "You did what a small boy could with what he knew. It was a clever spell. Now it is heavy." He swallowed. "If I let it go, what if it hurts like before?" "What if it's different?" the fairy asked gently. "What if you are just a boy with a mother who burns the fish because she is too busy worrying?" He snorted, a small surprised sound. She smiled. "Try a little, not all at once. Blue is stubborn. It will not leave completely. It will just make room." "How?" he whispered. "Start with one color, a small one. Close your eyes again." He obeyed. "Think of your mother's hands," she said. "Not when she is scolding, but when she is stirring soup, or fixing your sleeve, or holding your forehead when you are ill." He saw them, the faint scar along her thumb, the way her knuckles reddened in winter. "What color?" the fairy asked. "Red," he said at once, "like when she cuts beetroot, or comes in from the cold." "Hold it," the fairy said. He held the small, stubborn red, warm, fierce. Something inside his chest creaked, as if a swollen door were being pushed open. A streak of color flashed through his mind. Not blue at all, but red, bright as a berry against snow. His eyes flew open. For a second, the cones on the pine tree glowed dark red in the darkness. Then the blue rushed back, but it was thinner, not as solid. He could see its seams. The fairy watched him, pleased. "There," she said, "you have begun." "Will the other colors come back?" he asked. "Some will," she said. "Some new ones will come, and some things may always stay a little blue. That is all right. You are not a painting to be corrected. You are a sky that keeps changing." She hopped onto his shoulder again. "Now home. Your mother is wearing a path in the floor with her pacing." They walked back through the sleeping town. Once, passing under a street lamp, Valo saw the yellow light as yellow, just for a heartbeat. He said nothing. The fairy hummed a tune in his ear that sounded like a promise. In the kitchen, the candles had burned low. The mother looked up, her face tight with questions. "Well?" she asked. Well, said the fairy, we went to the pine. He has agreed to feel one color more. The mother looked at her son. His face was still serious, but his eyes seemed less far away. Which color? She asked. Red, he muttered. The mother's own eyes filled. Good, she said. Red suits you. She made hot chocolate, because some moments need something warm to hold. Valo sat at the table. The fairy balanced on the rim of his mug. Life did not turn into a storybook after that. There were still slammed doors and long silences and day when the blue pressed closed again. But in between, other colors began to slip back into the house. Sometimes when the mother told stories, Valo listened with his whole face, and she could see that he was stepping through doors only he could see. On nights when the blue grew heavy, he went up to the pine tree and leaned against its rough bark. I'm still here, he would tell the tree, and they're still here. It's different now. The pine, which had seen many winters, understood that different is its own kind of magic. As for the fairy, she stayed. There was a lot of blue to untangle, but she did not do it for them. She only reminded them from time to time in her spoon-on-glass voice. He's not hiding from you, he's hiding from himself. Symbols cannot heal a wound that the ego is not prepared to face. But love can wait at the threshold until the one who is hiding is ready to come home. In the town between fir forest and sea, there lived a boy who once only saw blue. On winter evenings, he stood at the window and watched the sky catch fire. Look, he called to his mother. She came, wiping her hands on a red-stained dishcloth. What do you see? She asked. He thought for a moment. I see blue, he said slowly, and also pink, and a bit of gold. It feels like when your foot wakes up after sleeping. It hurts, but you know it's alive. The mother smiled. That's what color does, she said. It wakes you up. The fairy, perched on the curtain rod, said nothing, but if you had looked very closely, you would have seen that her ice wings were beginning to tremble with the first shy colors of the northern lights. And somewhere beneath the hill, the old pine tree loosened its roots just a little, making room. So they lived, not perfectly, but truly, through winters of blue and sunsets of red, in a house where doors stayed open and colors came and went as they pleased. And for them, that was enough.